The first question is, how Swami become your role model in life, and how Swami come to your life and become your energy, your basic fundamental, and your life in everything your decision.
We'll go out to Brother George. I think, Brother, we know that you have been visiting Prashanti Nilayam since 1980s, late 80s. Yeah, so during all your visits, you were inspired by the Veda chanting, the mantras, no? So at that time, I think it was a signal for us to run to the Kulwant Hall for, we know that Swami was coming. That was the signal for us. But I think you understood the power of chanting Veda mantra, and also Swami's wish that it has to spread across the world for the, the upliftment of spiritual upliftment of all humanity. So, if you can elaborate.
Om Sai Ram. I would like to greet you all. I just came today at 3 o'clock, and that's why I was not from the beginning of this beautiful conference. I would like to extend my greetings to all of you. I see many faces that I have seen in the past when I was traveling in various countries, and I'm very happy. But it is my first time that I visit Malaysia, so it is my great pleasure and honor to participate in this Zone 4 International Conference. While I was coming with a plane, I was thinking, what can I say in a few minutes from my long interaction with Swami, because as sister said, yes, I'm visiting Prashanti Nilayam since 1987, almost 40 years now. And at that time I was a young man of 25 years old. And why was, I thought, what will be the essence of my relation with Swami? And why did I do this long trip to go till Prashanti Nilayam? And at that time, I don't know if some of you were there. The circumstances to stay in Prashanti were not easy at all. There was no rooms to stay, only in big sheds, a lot of mosquitoes, not food for me to eat, because when I first came to Prashanti, I was not used in Indian food. And at that time it was only the South Indian canteen. There was no European canteen, so I was suffering. I had diarrhea and all these things. But what was important, it was my strong desire to come close to Swami. And why? What was the main reason? If I look back, the main reason that I did this trip was in order to be able to come closer to truth. This was my yearning since I was young. What is the meaning of life? We are coming in this earth, we are born, we taste many different experiences. Then, after some time, we feel empty. And since when I was a young student, already I had in mind, what is the purpose of life? Why am I here? And when I first heard about Swami, I said immediately I have to go there. And indeed, when I went there, after I had already read a lot of different philosophies, I was sure that I met my master, my divine guide. And his name is indeed Sathya Sai Baba. His name is Truth. And also in the 108 names that this last year we practiced in this organization, the first name that we have is, after we say Om Sri Sathya Sai Babaya Namaha, Om Sri Sai Satya Swarupaya Namaha. So the first quality that we give to Swami is that he's Satya Swarupa. So this is, I think, the greatest blessings for all of us, because we have met this embodiment of truth. And the only goal of life, I think the unique goal of life, is know this truth. This truth about our own self, who we really are. I had many interactions with Swami, and the main topic that he was giving to us, to me and other Sai brothers who had the same inquiry, was to guide us on this very truth, to know our true self. Even his name, Baba, how does he interpret the name, Swami? Being, awareness, bliss, Atma. This is the whole truth. Atma, that means our true self, is being, awareness, bliss, Sat, Chit, Ananda. So he gives us a very clear answer on this question. And I think this should be the ultimate goal of any activity we do within the Sathya Sai organization. Sometimes we are lost in action, but we don't have to forget that the ultimate goal of the organization and our own life is to know our true selves. And Swami, in order to make this knowledge vivid and clear, often he quotes from the scriptures, he quotes from the great philosophers of the past. And from my interaction with Swami, I have to say that I learned much about the giant of philosophy who is Adi Shankaracharya. And Swami all the time speaks about Adi Shankaracharya, isn't it? And he repeats the 4 Mahavakyas that they say, who is our true self. You know these 4 Mahavakyas, the great sayings from the Vedas, because this is why important the Vedas. The Vedas, sometimes we chant, but if you don't know the meaning, it is not so useful. It is important to know the meaning. So this, to come back to these Mahavakyas, I will mention this. Aham Brahmasmi Tapvamasi Prajnanam Brahma Ayam Atma Brahma. Swami once and again repeats this, and in order to meditate more and more. And also to Greek devotees like me, because we had many interactions with Swami, Swami mentioned the importance of another giant of philosophy. Who is he? He is not from the eastern part of the world, but from the western. And his name, he is Socrates. Many times, you know, the driver who brought me from the airport said, I know something from the Greek history, because my father was at that time studying Greek. And you know, he tried to remember, you know whom I know? Alexander the Great. The same was with Swami. Often, when we had an interview, he said, you are Greeks. Yes, Swami. You are descendants of Alexander the Great. And then he was praising Alexander the Great as a great man. Especially he was praising his self-control. And then he was explaining to us, as he had a great self-control, you have also to have self-control. And then he was asking, who was the Guruji of Alexander the Great? We didn't understand. In the beginning, I didn't understand the question, because I didn't know what means Guruji. Later I learned. Who was the Guruji of Alexander the Great? Do you know? Then we did know. Though we were Greeks, and I have studied, I have a diploma, but from mechanical engineering, I didn't know anything about philosophy. So Swami answered, Guruji of Alexander the Great was Aristotle. Aristotle. You know Aristotle, of course. Everybody knows. You see, Swami mentioned these names who are very, very fundamentally in the thought of the thought of the humanity. Then he asked, who was the Guruji of Aristotle? Do you know? Plato. We didn't answer. Then Swami said Plato. And then he said, who was the Guruji of Plato? And then Swami himself said, Socrates. And when Swami spoke about Socrates in the little interview room, then he closed his eyes and he came to a state of Ananda. We could very clearly see and experience this Ananda that Swami, just thinking and speaking about Socrates, he was in Ananda. And you know what he said? He said, Socrates was the same with me, but a different time. Because he was teaching the young students, his young students, exactly the same thing that I teach to my students. That means, know thyself. And we were very surprised because we didn't know the importance of our Greek heritage. Since then I started studying a lot about Socrates, about Plato, Platonic philosophy, and I came to know how much this philosophy has influenced all the Western thought. And one more thing I will say about Socrates. Swami said to an interview, Socrates is not the right pronunciation. The right pronunciation is Socrates. We were very surprised because in Greek it is Socrates. And we were very surprised Swami mentioned the right pronunciation of the name. And then he explained in his own way what means Socrates. Then he says, So means he. Krat means creator. Is. He is creator. He is divine. So much he praised Socrates. Because if you read the texts of Plato, Socrates didn't write, only Plato wrote, you will see that the essence of his teachings was exactly to know who you really are and to know that you are beyond the body, beyond the mind, beyond the senses. All this comes and goes. All this changes. The most important thing is to know that we are the eternal soul, ever changeless, ever happy, ever full, ever perfect. This is what we really yearn. So, I don't want to take more time. I could share many interactions with Swami, but looking back, the whole purpose that Swami gave us this blessing to speak to us, to come close to us, to be among us, I realized that it is just for this purpose, to make us aware who is our true self. So for this, as the days pass, I am more and more grateful to Swami. And of course I study, as you said, you mentioned, I studied ancient texts, because in Sanskrit also we have the same knowledge. For example, in Taittiriya Upanishad, you know, in the second chapter of Taittiriya Upanishad, it is called Brahmananda Vali. There we have the model of the 5 kosas, pancha kosas. You know, Annamaya kosa, Pranamaya kosa, Manomaya kosa, Vijnanamaya kosa, Anandamaya kosa. And this is repeated weekly in Prasanthi Nilayam. The last year I saw Swami, he was not interacting with devotees. He was looking far beyond. He didn't care about the personal things that everybody has in his mind. What he enjoyed is to come out to the veranda and his students there, full of devotion, to repeat the Vedas and then to sing bhajans. And in these Vedas that they were singing, all these great truths are there. And when you repeat again and again, then it becomes a part of yourself. So let us remember what are the guidance that Swami has given us to keep it alive, to make it strong, and to be able to give it to the new generation. So we, like this, we can say that we fulfill the mission of the Sathya Sai organization, which is not other than to know our true self. Thank you, Jai Sai Ram.
Thank you, brother. I think, yes, it's quite thought-provoking. We have to do our homework on ancient Greek history, I think, now. So, yes, Dr. Sunder, we heard about your the accident you had with the fire and all that in the morning. So, Swami saved you. He had a plan. So, if you can elaborate now, since then, what you have done with yoga practices, and also you are teaching yoga now, is it? If you can elaborate on that.
There's so much to share from where the story begins and ends. So I'll take off from where I left, because I told you my parents, my family were not devotees, and I ended up in Swami's college. And yearning for that one-on-one recognition, and Swami gave that recognition. Somebody asked me in the corridor, so what happened to your parents? When did they become devotees? So I thought I'll address that. See, the beauty with Swami is, because he universally identifies himself with all names and forms, the devotion towards Murugan for him is not different. He just diverted them a little bit so they get the pratyaksha joy of actually seeing him in another form. His grace was there for them to recognize, but how that happened was, just like I needed that excuse to get in because of free education, my parents, they needed a leela in their lives. They, for them, their impression of Swami in the 70s where he was a Sitha. He would materialize small objects, nothing more than that. So even when I was in the Puttaparthi college I joined, my father started writing letters to me asking about an issue that was bothering them. And what was that issue? My eldest sister, her name was Bhavana. She was married for 11 years and she has not conceived a child. And they wanted to have a baby, so it makes things more difficult, right? When you want it and you don't get it. And she belonged to a bigger family. They were also Orthodox family, so she's not conceiving a child was an issue for them. And so they had, as a couple, they had tried whatever they could at that point. Every sannyasi they would come, they got from orange to mango to apple from everybody. They tried all that, nothing worked. They went to all the doctors, they tried everything like any desperate couple would try for a baby. Those days there weren't any other things available in it, at least not in India. So when I was in Puttaparthi, somebody told them, why don't you ask your son, Sai Baba does so many things, he might give some orange or something, one more apple, why don't you try it? Because try anything, right? So he started writing to me, ask Sai Baba about Bhuvana. Now as a young boy, I found that will be the most embarrassing me to get up from Swami, and Swami, my sister wants to have a baby. Now how would I ever do that? But I was polite because these are all, luckily it was not phone conversations. I didn't have to respond to him immediately. I would write a letter saying, I'm trying, I'm not getting a chance. I was just being polite. So that went on. Anyway, so that was in the back burner. Now after this incident, after the fire incident, Swami got to know me. He started looking at me, talking to me, and he gave me the joy of that personal connection. It had still not, my heart-to-heart connection had not happened. At least I got to know him. That first step, that door was opened. I was telling them about the hostel inauguration and the fire incident where I got caught in the rings and Swami rescued me from the fire. So that's how he got to know me at the individual level, if you will. So that happened in December 25th. Around February, he gave me the first interview. There was one thing, knowing Swami and looking at him as one among 50 boys, he was fairly close, but he kept passing by. It's an entirely different thing standing alone, one-on-one in the room with him. I had not experienced that before. I didn't even know what it was. So he came to me, he said, you want to talk to Swami? Because I kept writing to him, Swami, I want you to be my guru, I don't know, and all of that. A very heart to heart, and I used to be very open and frank with him. And so he said, okay, go sit. And my knee started, I was so nervous. So anyway, he called me into the room, and then along with other devotees, and then he had picked up one by one family into the inner interview room. There's a smaller room where he has, and so I was the only one, so he called me, beckoned to me, and I very nervously went in. As soon as I went in, he pushed me to a corner. As it is, the room is very small. He pushed me to a corner, and he straight away started, Kya mangta hai? Enna vadam? What do you want? Like, he didn't even give me 30 seconds to pause and say, how are you? Did you have breakfast? Nothing like that. So he tried all languages because he was not sure what I speak, I guess. So, what do you want? Tell me. Kya mangta hai? So he was so close. I said, kuch nahi, I don't want it. I was extremely nervous. What is this? He's so close. I had never thought I would get like this darshan, right? And so that was my very first time I had encountered Swami. And so I said, no, Swami, kuch nahi vanta, unnu venda, I don't want it. No, tell, what do you want? At that moment, this constant nagging from my parents in the subconscious mind, and the subconscious mind just pops up, right? It doesn't give you a notice. Then your conscious mind takes over. Then you'll analyze and logically come at what to ask Swami. This was inside somewhere. I had to ask someday, I don't know when, how. And so when Swami pushed me to that corner, suddenly I said, my sister. Now before I go further, the reason I'm saying this is because I wanted a direct experience of Swami's divinity. Like I told you earlier, I heard my friends telling fantastic stories. They had families, they had so many stories to come, and their devotees, they tell you so many stories. I went to the village there because those days there were Swami's classmates staying in the villages, so I used to go and talk to them. Just I want to know who this Sai Baba was. There's so much going on here. And so, but I didn't have a direct divine experience. I've had darshan of Swami, all that. But as a young boy, I wanted that. So this was what Swami gave me, and through me, he brought the family. All I did at that time was I just opened my mouth and I said, Swami, my sister, I wanted to tell him more because I was, as it is, nervous. I just barely said, my sister. Immediately he said, your eldest sister, Bhuna. Ayyo, your amma every time, Murga, Alden Raka, Eppo Patano. He's crying every time. No child, everybody, this sannyasi, that sannyasi, this doctor, that doctor. And I was staring at Swami for about 1.5 to 2 minutes, non-stop. He just rattled out exactly what was the situation in the family. It just almost, he couldn't hold it. He just, yes, I know, this is. The omnipresence of Swami was right there for me as a first one-on-one basis. Because I know nobody in Puttaparthi at that time knew. This was my family problem, I knew it. I wouldn't write to Swami, I wouldn't ask Swami, and there's not in the slightest reason for me to discuss this with my friend, my sister's issue. So there was nobody who knew this, And Swami immediately, it was just such a natural expression of omnipresence. There was no, wait a minute, let me see what happened to your sister. Nothing. I would have still been excited, right? But it was like, my sister, and your sister, Bhuna. For 11 years, no child, everybody's crying, your mother only, yo, Muruga. My mother is a very, very ardent was a very ardent devotee of Murugan. So my father too, he's a Kula Devam, but she will cry, for her Murugan is everything, And so this is what happened. So Swami finished this, and then Swami said, don't worry, Swami Prasad deta hai, 8 months, baby boy. Direct, like, this is better than, any machine that determines the sex of the baby. Just even before the baby is conceived, somebody is 100% sure. For me, I was extremely stunned when I heard that, because I was like, what, 8 months, shouldn't it be 9 months? My brain is like, I'm so confused, I'm scared, 8 months, baby boy. And Swami said, okay, now what do you want? Again I said nothing. No, Chapu, what do you want? That was over. Prasad deta hai, that was got over. Then what do you want? Again that subconscious desire as to what does he do in his room. For me as a young boy from Bombay, I was very curious. What does he do in his room? How big is his room? Does he have a sofa in his room? Does he have a television in his room? Does he levitate at night when he's sleeping? What does he do? If he has so many powers, does he walk through walls? I had all these questions. How was his bed? And just simple things that we would love to know, right? And it was not audacity, it was not ego, it was just simple curiosity. That I wish I know more about him. So for me to embrace him totally as my guru, I really want to know everything I can about Sai Baba. That's what it was for me. And so when he again pushed me again to the wall, and this again was that deep desire, and I'm so grateful to Goddess Saraswati for sitting on my tongue that day, because given a chance, we will, and let me finish this and I'll come back to that, because there's an important lesson we learn from here. So the moment he said that, I said, Swami, I want to be in your room. There was something called the room duty boys. There was always 3 or 4 boys. We will be like just running errands for Swami. We'll clean and mop the interview room inside out, and Swami will say, hey, somebody will come up, and he'll say, go be selected to so and so, just helping Swami around, right? So that was called room duty boys. There were a couple of boys already there. And so it was perhaps every boy's desire, right? And mine was of course on there, but I used to always think, where am I ever going to get that? None of my parents know Swami, I don't know him, he doesn't know me. And so it was not even on my possibility chart, not even on my bucket list. It was just a wish somewhere planted in the subconscious mind, or I get in the universe, if you will, nowadays the way we understand it. But that opportunity came and I asked. And Swami so simply, so immediately again, he said, oh, that's all. Kal se aao, come from tomorrow. I was so happy. I said, thank you, Swami, and I hugged him. He immediately pushed me back. Hey, spoiling my head. Hey, baal kharab karta hai. And he started adjusting it there. Of course, he was very happy that I was so excited. And the reason why I share that moment, for me the lesson is, the universe gives you the opportunity for that. There is a moment, a window opens, and without thinking, without judging yourself, ask for the very best. Because if you had told me, I am going to give others interview, you think what you want and tell me, I would have thought of other things. But then what story I would have told myself? Who am I? I will just be humble enough. I will ask for namaskar, or I'll ask for a ring or a watch or something I might have come with. Given the chance, if I had to analyze what I had to ask. But that moment, the window was so small, he just squeezed out my innermost desire out of my mouth. It was his grace. Avan arulale avantal vanangi, says Shiva Puranam. And that's the only Tamil one I know, so I'll go on repeating that. But I love that. The Shiva Puranam talks to me really so much about Swami. But anyway, so it was his grace that made me speak. And very simply and beautifully, he just said yes. There was no such thing as you be a good boy, then I will give you. There was no conditions attached. There were absolutely no conditions attached. He said, okay, come from tomorrow. And so those are the two huge things that happened in that 15-20 minutes. I came out, I sat, and I said, oh my gosh, I couldn't process 2 very big things. One, Swami saying 8 months baby boy, and Swami said, prasad deta hai. So let me focus on that part now. So when he said prasad deta, I'll give prasad, and your sister will conceive in 8 months if she's going to have a baby boy. Like he has decided. Now he's busy taking others into the interview room. I am sitting there thinking, oh my gosh, now I'm going to see that big miracle. The next thing I wanted to see was a miracle again at close quarters. Again with 50 boys, 60 boys, he comes out in the darshan and he would materialize an object here or there. I always wanted to see, how does he do that? How does it from like 5 elements and there's nothing, and how does an object actually come into his palm? And so I said, okay, this must be for my sister. He's going to definitely materialize something. He's always materializing something or the other. So he said, prasad deta hai, it must be great. And so I was eagerly waiting for the prasad from Swami. More because he's going to materialize something, right? So Swami came out and apparently finished the interview. And then he went to the window. On the windowsill, he keeps a bucket. a wire basket, a plastic wire basket. You might see in some of the old videos, they're filled with vibhuti packets. And so Swami picked up that basket on his left hand, from right hand he started giving everybody. So he's signaling it was the end of the interview. So everybody took the prasad, then they touched or touched his feet and then took the prasad and sat down. He was coming towards me. I was like, I hope he didn't forget what happened to my sister's prasad. You know, he came to me and I also showed my hand, palm, both my palms like this. And he took and put it on my palm and he walked. As he was walking, he noticed me. Why? Because I am staring at him. Wait a minute, where is that prasad for my sister? And Swami said, Kya hai? What? Well, like, you know, I was staring at him. What happened? I said, Swami, sister prasad. Swami said, Idhe, prasad. Ye hai prasad, de do. Bejo. I looked at my palm, I looked at others' palms. Did everybody ask for a baby? What is this? At that moment, I just dropped, my whole belief and my faith dropped from there to here. I said, this is not going to work here. This is, from that same basket, he just, what happened to that miracle? Swami Prasad deta hai, I mean, 11-year-old problem. See, sometimes we think the problem is big. The solution also has to be equally dramatic. Solutions can be so simple in our lives that we often overlook the solution because we are looking at a dramatic solution because our problem is dramatic in our head, correct? So 11 years issue, nobody could resolve this, and therefore Swami has to do something, maybe materialize some unique medicine or something. I don't know what it was in my mind, but here it was. So simple that I couldn't believe it because he picked it up from the same basket. Then he looked at my face because he saw this guy has no belief, right? So he looked at the other people. He said, see, young boys, doubting Thomas, doubting Thomas, doubting Thomas, right? Doubting Thomas, always doubting Thomas, young boys these days. And he looked at the others and of course everybody had to nod. So for me, I was like, yeah, thanks. So I was sitting, still disappointed. Then Swami said, she has more faith than you, send it to her. Very clear that this was meant for that. It was not a mistake, I didn't overlook it and I'm not trying to make up for it. Ye bejo, she has more faith. And let me finish that part and come to this again because I always forget that. So I did send it later on in the registered post those days, insured registered post, make sure it reaches my sister who was in Delhi. And within 2-3 weeks she conceived. And within 8 months she did have a baby boy. So what happens? Now my entire family makes a beeline to Allah. You avarda murugan no. So immediately they realized not the omnipresence of Swami knowing, but the omnipotence of him actually having the power to fulfill what he said to come true. So my whole family, especially my father and mother, they became very ardent devotees of Swami, and a few years later, 5 or 6 years later, my father retired and Swami said, now you work for me in the Central Trust. He was the accountant for the Central Trust till the last days of his life when he passed away. And so there's a beauty in that introduction to Swami. And then of course, back to the interview room. So he said, give it to your sister. I said, okay. Still a little disappointed, but I sat down. Then he said, doubting Thomas, doubting Thomas. Then he put his basket down. And then just for my sake, he pulled his robe, the hand fully up like this. So I could see his entire palm. And I'm sitting down here, so almost over my face. Okay, you want to see a miracle, lelo yaar, I'll show you a miracle, you know. This is what you want, okay. If this is going to give you faith, fine. That was a moment of just amazing grace for me. Because those are the things I wanted, seriously, for me to say, I saw it with my eyes, I experienced it, so nobody else can tell me right or wrong, and there will be no doubt left, right? And then Swami waved his hand right over my face, and then he closed it and materialized a beautiful silver locket with Om on one side and Swami's face. He said, this is for you. You wear it. And then he said, Isko, aaj se main tumhara sarathi. He said, I am your sarathi. And then shaking his head, he said, Sanatana Sarathi. And I took his hand and he put it on my palm. And then I knew I found my Guru. And of course, the following weeks and months, I truly got my faith in Swami. Watching him being a human being, not walking through walls, he was not levitating, he was. But I'll probably talk about it tomorrow morning. I know we are running out of time now, but the beauty of Swami was when he was alone. Swami says, when I am among men, I am a man. Among women, I am a woman. Among children, I am a child. Alone, I am God. That alone was the most amazing, the contentment. Dr. Reddy was talking today about thought, word, and deed. The authenticity and the integrity of a guru I saw in Swami. And to me, as a young boy, that was what touched me the most. So thank you for your patience, Sarah.
Thank you, Doctor. I think we can give them
20 minutes. So.
Sir Ramon, I'm sure you must be having some questions to ask all the brothers. Would you like to question any one of them?
Okay, my questions are, we are looking into this Hinduism. Hinduism. We got a lot of, we got literature, Ramayana, Mahabharata, Bhagavad Gita, Vedas, Upanishad. So many things. So all these things are actually, it is true, or it is just kind of epics, just storytelling. But I was with a Sai only about 1 year plus. Before that, I'm not that kind of a spiritual guy. So my spirituality started when after my bypass and I lost my both leg. Then only I come to the spirituality. Same like you all were looking for a guru, I grouped for a guru, then the guru appeared. So I was with the Sai groups now. Okay, my question, all this Hinduism talking about, it is now mentioned, it is true or not? Or it is just an epic, it's a story, put people to sleep, people who have a different understanding, or they want to do, what do you call it, streamline their thoughts, so that everybody, same line of thinking. So that's my first question. Second question is that, as per the doctor you have said, you have experienced your miracles and all that. You have seen, physically Sai Baba. You have seen him in Guru. You also seen him as a God. When I, at a young age, I thought, Sai Baba is just a Guru. But now I was confused whether he's Guru or he's a God. So that question. Okay, thank you very much.
If I understand, your first question was there are Vedas, Upanishads, and scriptures, and Ramayana and Gita, and are these all just mythology, or they are real, or would you like to address that?
This is an important question because as we advance in time, sometimes we look back and we say that, okay, all this ancient knowledge maybe is not valid today. So there is a tendency, and this is the fact for educated people to doubt all this ancient wisdom that it is there in the past. I think one of the main tasks of Swami is to has come in order to give us again faith into the truth of the ancient wisdom. He has said that my main task is Veda Samrakshana. That means to save, to support the Vedas. Vidvan Poshana, to nourish the wise people. And Dharma Stapana, and again to establish the ancient dharmic way of living. All this have been lost, and in the educational field, in the academical field, there are great doubts about all these ancient texts. So this is very important question. And for me, because when I went there, I told you I was a young man. I was educated in the West, in an environment with no spirituality at all. So for me, transformation was made because of Swami. So the main thing I got from Swami, it was again faith in the ancient wisdom. Only when you have faith, you can proceed. Without faith, you cannot do anything. This faith in the teachings of your guru, in the teachings of the scriptures. This is called Shraddha. And in Bhagavad Gita it said, Shraddhavan labhate jnanam. He who has faith and spiritual zeal, he will reach knowledge. Samsayatma vinashyati. He who has doubts, he will perish. So it is very important, your question. And the presence of Swami, that's why the avatar is coming from time to time. When the humankind loses all this faith, goes away from the spiritual truth of life, forgets all these principles, then only God can establish this again. That's why it takes form in order to give us again and to awaken in the validity and the truth of the ancient wisdom. So the next maybe you can answer.
Thank you. It is. Thank you for that answer. It's really wonderful. It's wonderful that there is so much in these scriptures, and they are so many thousands of years old. So they're broadly divided into itihasas and puranas. Itihasa means thus it happened. It was recorded as history, and there are only two, Ramayana and Mahabharata. They are actual events. It is not mythology. There are actual places in India that you can trace, and according to the documented version in the Ramayana and Mahabharata, you can go to Sri Lanka and see. I haven't been there. I'm hoping Swami will give me the privilege to go to that place where Sitha was there. So itihasas, thus it happened, means thus it happened, and it was recorded exactly as it happened. Valmiki Ramayana and Vyasa's Mahabharata. That is history. And there are lessons from that we can draw. Now, Puranas is a very unique contribution by the rishis, many thousand, again 2000 years old. Some of them are a little more recent, 1500 years old. I mean, that's a kind of a thing. So there are 108 Puranas, out of which 18 Puranas are the main, Skanda Purana being the largest. Purana means Pura Nava. Purana, normally we say that which is really old. That is one way of understanding it. But the true meaning is Puran Nava means that which is old, that which is new. It is old, but it is also applicable today as much as it's old. In other words, those are symbolic in nature. You take the lessons, the essence of Vedas was told to us in story form. It's the simplest way to understand that. But actually, when you do the Vedic rituals and the yagas and you invoke the deities, they do appear. So when you see it, there is a Shiva's form such as so, and Murugan such as that's as the way that rishis have given it to us. It is the mantra shakti that embodied and created and gave them that darshan, which was eventually put down in statues and passed on to us, correct? So that is the richness of our tradition. Whether it is new or whether it is real or mythological, it really doesn't matter, because the essence of the teaching takes you within. And like you said, Shraddha, if you have the Shraddha in the teachings, then you will automatically discover your inner self, which is the essence of all of this. Because these are all across yugas and yugas, these have been given to us. And the history cannot even... it's amazing, some of these scriptures, they are, the Surya Siddhanta, for example, they talk about the distance between the earth and the sun, the diameter of the planets, Jupiter, why Jupiter is closer, how Saturn is the furthest, how Saturn is the slowest moving planet, how Saturn is a lighter planet. All of that is proved by NASA today. Almost 96% NASA is coming close to what Surya Siddhanta find out. And I know very soon they will match what Surya Siddhanta already written down for us. So the beauty of that, where did they get that knowledge? Swami asked us once, where did the rishis get that knowledge of the stars?
What you are getting with this education? You can't even climb a coconut tree. There were coconut trees out of the ashram. You say you can't even climb a coconut tree, and they knew the secret of the stars. How did they know that? The beautiful answer he gave himself was, they knew one thing by which everything else was known. When the college was new, Swami was so enthusiastic and so eager to share with us the real education behind subjects and all you can learn. But there is one thing they knew by which everything else they knew. What was that? The knowledge of the self. They knew their self. They knew that the inner being is connected to the universe. And that is what in yoga, sometime in the future when we get a chance, how the 5 elements in our body connects to the 5 elements. We are not isolated beings. We are products of one consciousness expressing itself. It is just a mirage that makes it seem as the many. The Swami would say there are different pots reflecting the one sun or the one moon. It seems like there are a million moons, but they are only different pots. One pot is big, one pot is small, one pot is, white in color, dark in color, whatever, but they all reflect the same one. And they are only reflections of the one moon. So you and I, we are all reflections of that one consciousness. Ekam Sat Vipra Bahuda Vadanti. It's only seen and perceived as the many. And many instances between Swami and us where he shared very beautifully. As context come, I'll definitely share it. This thing, response to Guru or God. Honestly, I don't know what God means even to this day. If I were to show you a fruit and tell you this is an apple, and if this was a mango in my hand, all of you would say I am wrong. Why? Because you have seen an apple. I'm holding a mango. You have seen an apple. You have tasted an apple. You know how an apple looks like. Everything about apple you know. So when I show you a mango, you will say, no, that's not a mango. That's an apple. But with God, who are we to say who is God and who is not? What do we know about God? Even Adi Shankara in Saundarya Lahari, he writes, Shiva Shaktya Yukto Yadi Bhavati Shaktaha Prabhavitu, when it goes 4 lines. In the end, he says, Kadamakata Punyaha Prabhavati, Hari Hara Vrinchadi Birapi. Even Hari, Hara, and Brahma, Shiva, Vishnu, and Brahma themselves don't know the ultimate essence of the Shakti principle. When they don't know, when I don't know who I am even worshipping, how am I even going to worship that which I don't understand? The point is, we are no one to claim who is God and who is not. For me to say Swami is God is as foolish as me saying Swami is not God. But I know that he is my Guru. And for me, if God were to manifest and Swami were to manifest, and if they were different, I will choose Swami. Because he pointed to me my inner self, which is unending in its capacity to give. I think God is not a being. God is a tattva, a principle, a journey into unlimited discovery. And as long as you keep discovering God, the more he reveals himself in all of the cosmos, in every atom, every molecule, and that will never end. That revelation is God, that journey is God, that process perhaps is what our understanding of God is. So to ask, is Swami God, is Swami, it really, if he fits into your definition of God, then he is a God for you. But I do know that he is a being that is not human. He is my Guru. He is the one who has conquered all the 5 elements. And he did things which I saw with my own eyes, in the sense of the way he lived, the way he practiced, who he was. No human being on earth can do that and survive. So for me, he is my Guru, the Sadguru, the divine Guru who points me to the eternal truth side of.
I just wanted to share an experience because I know philosophy is very high, very nice, but when you taste some experience with Swami, this is the real sweetness. It has to do with Ramayana. 30 years back, a group of young devotees from Greece decided to make a theatrical drama in Purnachandra. And we took 3 stories from Swami's writings. It was the story, the interaction of King Janaka with 3 great sages of that time, Vasista, Sukha, and Astavakra. These were stories that were written by Swami. So we prepared the script, and in the summer that means July, we had an interview and we gave the script to Swami. And Swami, we said, can we play this drama in November, in your birthday? Swami took the script, he made like this, said, where is Rama and Sitha? Because there was no place, because it was just Chanaka meeting the sages, but there was no Rama and Sitha. Say, yes, you can play, but you have to put inside also Rama and Sitha. So how could we put Rama and Sitha? Because it was first the meeting with Vasistha, then with Sukha, and at the end with Ashtavakra. And when Janaka gave fully his mind to Ashtavakra, he got enlightened. And then we thought, when Ashtavakra is getting enlightened, then Rama and Sita come outside and they bless Ashtavakra. So this way we found how to put Rama and Sita. Swami was satisfied. Then in the interview, I was in the interview and Swami looked at me and he told me, you will play also and you come in November. So we went back, and then when we went back, all the roles had been given. And then they came to me because I was not responsible for the drama, and they told me, George, Swami said another detail. There were 2 female roles. It was the queen, the wife of King Chanaka, and it was Sita, Rama and Sita. Swami was very clear. He said, only boys, no mix. Only boys will play these roles. So when we came back, then they told me, George, there is no other role for you. Because I wanted maybe to be Vasistha or Sukha or Ashtavakra, in the presence of Swami to play great sage. And then they told me, you have to play Sita. So I didn't know the importance of Sita, but it was, anyhow, I was a little disappointed. I could not say no. Because Swami looked in my eyes and he told me, you play also. So it was really a challenge for me. I couldn't say no. I said, okay, I will play Sita. And then I didn't have much to do. I was going there to the rehearsals. And then all the time I was thinking, this role now, to be the Sita. But then in my heart I said, why no, after all? Sita was the closest to Rama. So if I am Sita, Swami is Rama, so this is the best role. Like this I try to console myself, that this is a good role after all. Anyhow, the time came and the first group went to Prasanthi. I was in the school, I could not take leave. I had only 5-6 days because I'm a teacher. Then when the first group went to Prasanthi, Swami gave immediately an interview. And what he asked in the interview, he asked the 4 or 5 brothers, where is Sita? And immediately they called me back to Athens. And they said, Swami is asking about Sita. I was jumping from joy. It was all this drama with all these sages and this, and Swami asked about where is Sita and Rama. Then next week I went there. Immediately Swami came to the darshan, and then he approached me and said, Sita Nayana? Nayana means eyes. It's something very affectionate, like this. And then he gave me vibhuti. And then in the interview, and all the time, it really turned to be a great blessing. Because Swami, when he was calling me, one day he told me, he gave me a sari. Because I had to wear a sari. And so, okay, I took the sari, I went to the rooms. Then the next day, Swami came and said, bring me the sari back. I will give you another one because the sari has to sparkle. It has to be nice. Then I took it back and he brought another one. And then he advised me to go to an old lady, and the old lady made the sari like a dress, because otherwise I could not wear normal sari. It's not possible for me. So she made like a dress. Like this, even the last day Swami was decorating everything. And in the rehearsal, Swami was coming daily in the Purna Chandra. And one time we thought to ask Swami a very silly question, but because we had a very close interaction, and we asked Swami, what was the name of the wife of King Janaka? We knew all the other details, and we had discussed, we have never seen what was the name, so let's ask Swami, as if it was something very important. So we asked indeed, Swami, what was the name of King Janaka's wife? And then Swami was sitting in the chair, in a plastic chair, because he was coming there in the rehearsals, and all of a sudden he became very serious, as if it was very important question. And then he closed his eyes, like meditating, like trying to remember. We became also very silent. What is the answer? And then Swami opened his eyes, he looked to us, he smiled, and he said, the name of King Janaka's wife was Mrs. Janaka. Amazing. Next day, she came again to the rehearsals. We were sitting there. And then it was my Sai brother who was playing the wife of King Janaka, female role. And then Swami went to him and said, how are you, Mrs. Janaka? And then I was very jealous. Because with Swami, I'm sure everybody has experienced this. When Swami comes out and he speaks to a person, the next person is very jealous. He wants to take some attention from Swami. And then Swami felt this, and then he turned to me, and you know what he asked? How are you, Mrs. Rama? So he was playing like this. It was amazing experience, the unique experience, all this. Then we did the drama, and there were many more. But why I said that in connection to your question? We did this drama, Swami was making his leela, he was playing, but the ultimate experience for us, as I look back, it was the strong faith on this truth that these great sages taught, Vasistha, Sukha, and Astavakra. Because we played this in the presence of Swami, Swami was very happy. And the main teaching of these sages, as I said also in the beginning, it was exactly this, to know who you really are. You are not, when Vasistha, when Janaka was in a trance, he was seeing a dream. Is this true or is that true? The dream is true or the waking state is true? And then Vasistha came and told him, neither the dream is true, this is a daydream, a night dream, not the waking state. This is a daydream. Only you who are present in the waking state, in the dream state, in the sleepless state, only you are true. And you are Satchitananda. So that's why I said in the beginning, and this is what I keep for myself from all these long interactions with Swami, and this is what I want to practice, and I practice daily to remind to myself all the time, who am I? Who am I? This is the basic question. Thank you, Jai Sai Ram.
Sai Ram. I understand sometimes back that I learned from one of the books that Swami spoke to his students about the creation of this universe. Can I have the answer on that, please?
Can you repeat?
The creation of the universe and its purpose.
I don't. Check. I don't recall a direct conversation with Swami from that perspective. His relation or creation of the universe. But Swami always gave us to understand that creation is not a thing of the past. It is not a historical event. There was not a particular time when creation began. In Vedanta, creation has not begun, let's say, 2 million years ago or 3 million years ago, and is going to end sometime. When you are awake, you see. When you are fast asleep, what happens to creation? It disappears. So it is an illusion. Vishwam Darpana Drishyamana Nagarim, Adi Shankara writes in his beautiful Dakshinamurti Stotram. This universe is reflected on the lake of the mind as if it is real. So, because the mind exists, the senses exist, the universe comes into being. When you're fast asleep, even you don't exist. Where does the universe? It doesn't exist. When you awake, again it comes back into existence. So, there is... that is the understanding that Swami would raise us whenever questions like these came. But at the same time, if there is a book that is written by somebody else, maybe that person had a different answer from Swami. But this was always what I got from Swami. Where is creation? It is at this moment it is there, it is not there. It is all depends on your perspective, he would say.